I wanted her to have something that she could be proud of her mom for, and to be like, it is okay to be an entrepreneur. She's kind of like the basis of what helped me take that leap. And then the support of my husband and family. I really couldn't do that without them, consistently encouraging me, because there's times when you're like, I don't think I'm good enough. Or you hear somebody come back and they're like, I do not like my pictures, especially in the beginning part, and then you just feel a little heartbroken.
This is the Main Street Reimagined podcast, a show for people ready to turn visions into realities and ideas into businesses. Hey, I'm Luke Henry, and each week I lead conversations with Main Street dreamers who took the leap to launch a business, renovate a building, or start a movement. Their ideas, their mindsets, and their inspirations, as well as some of the highs and lows along the way. This is a place for dreamers, creators, developers, and entrepreneurs to learn, share, and be inspired to change your community through small business. Enjoy the show. Hey friends, this is the Main Street Reimagined podcast. I am Luke Henry, and I'm excited that you joined us for another episode of our podcast here. Thanks so much for your continued support and feedback and listening, and I just can't thank you all enough. So I am excited to have with me today Sarah Hogan, Hogan's Photography. And hello, Sarah.
Hi.
Hello. So she is in studio with me here, and we are going to be talking about her entrepreneurial journey and her story as it twists and turns through business and family and all of that. So I'm excited for hearing that and sharing it with our audience here. So thanks.
I'm excited as well.
Yeah. So let's start with a quick overview. Tell us a little bit, if folks haven't heard of Hogan's Photography. What do you do specifically, and what are your specialties and all that?
So I am a portrait photographer. I have been a portrait photographer for 12 years now, and I specialize in newborn photography, but I also do seniors, families, lifestyles, business. I have kind of broke away from the wedding aspect of things. However, I don't always say no. It just kind of depends on if everything fits. But just basically a portrait photographer here in the community.
Yeah. And you recently moved into a new studio. So tell us a little bit about that space.
So this is my dream space. I have envisioned a space that I could make my own for quite some time. I needed something with high ceilings. I needed something with a lot of window lighting, and this particular building or this particular space became available. And as soon as I walked in, I was like, this is literally everything I have been dreaming of. The space is much bigger, so I can have different setups consistently, especially when you take pictures of young children. Their attention span is like 15 minutes or less.
Right.
So you want setups available that you can just, pop them in different places, and it is everything I have dreamed of.
Yeah. It's such an awesome space. I mean, so it's like 2,500 square feet.
It's huge.
And so you've got all these different setups. So yeah, if there's a kid or a family, you can kind of whisk them from one to the next, to the next, to the next, right? And it looks like they're going from place to place, and it's just a matter of seconds. There's no drops to change and all of that. So yeah, you've done such a great job of
Thank you.
updating that. So Sarah moved into one of our buildings here several months ago, and it's just been a dream to work with, and all of the folks that she's attracting to the downtown and bringing for sessions, and then likely sending them on their way to go, shop and eat, within close distance as well. So
yeah, a lot of people. I actually had a couple come in from Barcelona. Their family lives here, but they came in and they're like, "Do you have any places that you recommend?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely. Let me give you a list." And so they went downtown and they ate at Amato's, and then they went to Sweet May Cafe or Sweet May
Art Cafe,
the Art Cafe, yes. And then they were going to go to Max Air. So, and then Lulu's Toys, like they were doing all the things while they were here. So that was very exciting to see.
Yeah. I absolutely love that. Obviously, we, a big part of our goal is trying to kind of cross-pollinate between different businesses. And we love folks like you that are just, you've already got your list prepared. You're just
Yes.
waiting for the question, or sometimes you probably don't wait for the question. You just say, here's where you need to go when you
Yes,
leave.
absolutely.
Everyone needs a treat, whether it's a trip to the candy store or the toy store or the restaurant,
Yes.
for something to reward everyone. That's, husbands included, for being good for pictures.
Correct.
and
They're
all
the
of
ones
that.
who typically need the treat after the pictures. Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. I've needed a treat after pictures before. So
I'm sure.
yeah, so great. So I love that, and I'm really excited to hear kind of your full story. I've only really heard bits and pieces of it before. So, where did you grow up, and really how did you get down the path of this photography thing, and and doing it to the level that you are? Lots of people might dabble or do a little on the side or whatever. But you've been very heavy into it for quite a long time.
Yes. So I was born and raised here in Marion, Ohio, graduated from Harding. When I was 16, I started working at Sears Portrait Studio.
Okay.
And that was basically the only job I had. And then I actually started school to be a teacher, and you have to pass a foreign language. I could not pass this foreign language. I went to tutors, everything. I was like, okay. So I was like, maybe God wants me to do something different. I always wanted to do something with children. So I was like, well, I've always been a photographer. Now I know Sears portrait photography is completely different than what I do.
Right.
But then I decided, okay. And I went to college to be a portrait photographer, and I have my associate's degree in that.
Really?
And so then I kind of put it on the back burner for a while. And then once I had my daughter, I just couldn't imagine sending her to a babysitter. And so I talked to my husband about it, and I have had the best support with him. He was like, well, why don't you start a photography business? I'm like, who's going to come to me? You know what I mean? And it has been such a blessing. So we started out in our 2-bedroom home, and we just literally pushed furniture out of the way in our living room. And we just started using tablecloths as backdrops because we were just starting out as a family. We did not have much money. And it has just kind of been from there. Now, don't get me wrong, there's been ups and downs, but you just start where your dreams are, and then you make it something better every time. The very first photo shoot that I actually had, I borrowed a camera that I had sold to my mom. And my goal was to make enough money to buy a new camera on eBay. And we made just enough money to buy that camera on eBay. And that is kind of like what started everything. That's kind of what started Hogan's Photography.
Okay. I absolutely love that. I love the story of just, really just starting where you were.
Yes.
And making do.
Yes.
And God bless that first customer. That,
Yes.
that I'm assuming this
Absolutely.
is a friend or family member, maybe, or.
Actually, it wasn't.
Oh, okay. So they're just like, okay, they're just pushing their furniture out of the way. Okay,
Yes.
I'm going to trust her on this.
So
we're already here, I guess.
We're already here,
Yeah.
I guess, right? So they were with ducks and chicks. So I think that's what kind of like enticed people in our living room, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I think that's just kind of what attracted people. They're like, oh, animals, And then from there, thank God, they were like, all right, this lady's okay. Her house is okay. And they just continued to trust me. And yes, of course, friends and family absolutely supported me. But there were other customers who were like, all right, we're doing this.
Yeah.
So yeah, very fortunate.
I absolutely love that. That's fantastic. So in a lot of these interviews, I love to draw out the kind of what we call the leap.
Sure.
Where you truly took, and I feel like we're at that point in the story. So I want to kind of, add a little color to it where, it sounds like you had this dream for quite some time,
Yes.
probably working at Sears, I imagine at some point thought like, gosh, maybe I could do this on my own one
Sure.
day.
Yeah.
And then you went through school, then you kind of put the dream off to the side.
Yes,
And, it probably still stayed and kind of flared up every once in a while.
absolutely.
So what was it then that really prompted you to say like, okay, like enough with the dreaming and the wishing and the hoping, and I'm going to actually, put something out into the world that says I'm doing this and kind of make myself vulnerable and get the equipment and make the investment and really take the leap? What did that look like?
So mostly it was having a daughter. I wanted her to have something that she could be proud of her mom for, and to be like, it is okay to be an entrepreneur. She's kind of like the basis of what helped me take that leap. And then the support of my husband and family. I really couldn't do that without them, consistently encouraging me, because there's times when you're like, I don't think I'm good enough. Or you hear somebody come back and they're like, I do not like my pictures, especially in the beginning part, and then you just feel, a little heartbroken. And so it was basically that. And then once I got to a point, I was like, I can do this. And then like the confidence came. And I feel like that is where everything kind of started blowing up, but in a good way. So, we go from this home in our living room, and then we were able to buy a shed, and my husband redid the shed, and then we were able to have a storefront, and now we're able to have my dream space.
Yes.
So it's just the progress of it all.
Yeah, that's great. I want to go back to a little bit of what you were talking about with the emotions.
Sure.
I really appreciate your real talk around that. And I think that's worth kind of going back to for a moment, just because I think that people think that sometimes, like, once you take the leap, like, then it's downhill from there. Or even once you've been in business for 5 years or 10 years,
Right.
that those feelings of kind of self-doubt or disappointment or frustration go away.
They do not.
They do
not, yes.
How has that evolved? I mean, how have you learned to manage those emotions and not allow it to make you quit? I mean, because obviously you're still doing it.
Yes. So honestly, it's tough skin. Like, I definitely am a people pleaser and somebody who takes to heart when somebody says something. So when somebody comes back with negative reviews, yes, take a look at that, but then also understand that you're growing and give yourself grace, because every feedback that you get, whether it's great or it's bad, the bad feedback is where you can learn and you can grow.
Yes.
Okay. The good feedback is, oh, I love my pictures, and you want to hear that. However, if somebody is like, it took too long for this or for that, then you can say, okay, now I know that I need to get pictures out in a, more, in a quicker manner, or I need to, hone in on this aspect.
Yes.
And especially if you hear it more than once, like there's some people you're just not going to be able to please, unfortunately. But I feel like that is part of it. And then the continuation of that, I've been in it for 12 years and I still have self-doubt. I still have moments where I'm like, ooh, am I still relatable? Am I still, able to give them exactly what they want, because I'm getting older, kids are getting younger, it's just one of those things. And so there's still self-doubt, but at the end of the day, as long as I am making if I'm giving them the product that I am proud of and that I would hang in my own home, I feel like I've done my job at that point.
Yeah. Isn't it interesting? I really resonated when you were talking about, I think you kind of were saying, in essence, like at one point you might have felt like a little too young to do this. And then somewhere along the line you started feeling too old.
Yes,
right.
It's so true.
When were we just right? I don't know. It must have been like just some random day or week, and we kind of didn't notice, and then all of a sudden we flipped over to the other side.
That's correct. Yes, it's so weird how that happens.
Yeah. But again, I've heard other people talk about that as well, and so hopefully someone out there listening is like, yes, I feel that way. I'm not the only one. I'm not crazy. So I wanted to accentuate that. And then what you shared about feedback, I think, is just so rich. That somebody once told me, feedback is a gift.
It is.
And negative feedback is it's a gift. It's hard to hear sometimes because we are passionate as entrepreneurs, and we want to please people. We want to do well
Right.
and do right by our customers or our team members or whomever. And but sometimes we don't get it right. And
Right.
the people that care enough to tell us so that we can get better, I think that people that can frame it that way as like, oh, that was a gift. It may not have been wrapped just like I like,
Right.
but it was a gift to me to be able to get better.
Right. And then the people who do have those, comments, and then they come back to you, that is so nice. It gives you a moment that you're like, okay, they're letting me make it right. They're letting me fix the situation. And it's just a good feeling.
Yeah. Is there a particular situation that you remember that you would be willing to share?
So one newborn that I had done, this was like earlier on in my business, and you get better as you do things,
Yeah.
right? And they didn't love their newborn pictures. I go back and I cringe too. Okay, so I understand. And they had given me some tips and tricks that they think could have been helpful. Now, looking back on it, I don't necessarily feel like everything they said would have been as helpful, but I do believe my knowledge that I have now, going back, it did help me to be like, okay, just because this is how I do something doesn't mean that every baby can do that same pose, that same whatever. And but they still come to me and they are always like, I'm so proud of you. You know what I mean? So it is like a full circle situation where they stuck with me, even though their first experience with me was not as, rainbows and butterflies, I
Right.
guess.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I think that it takes a certain personality, maybe not a personality, but I don't know that everyone's born with it. I'm sure that it can be adapted or learned, but to be able to establish that rapport and trust with people. I mean, because it's a pretty personal interaction that you're having
Sure.
with people. And I mean, I'm sure that a lot of folks feel very vulnerable
Right.
while they're getting their pictures taken. So,
Especially newborns, because they're like, some people haven't even had their family meet them yet,
Right.
and I'm here holding their newborn and posing them.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Yeah. Are there certain ways that you feel like you've figured out to be able to build that trust and rapport quickly with people, as you've done this over the years?
I always try. I can't remember stuff from yesterday, but I can always remember the kids' names. It's so crazy.
Yes.
Or like what they wore or the backdrops that they've used. So I'll be like, hey, I know we did this for little Jimmy. Do you want to do this for Sally or whatever? And I think people really resonate with the fact that, hey, I am remembering your family. They are important to me as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm sure that does matter a lot, and the reason that people are coming back,
Sure.
again, I think that so often in business, once again, like lots of people in business make mistakes,
Sure.
and it's truly just a matter of how we're handling those.
Yes.
That either makes a lifelong customer or maybe a lifelong,
Enemy.
yeah. So, but
Sure.
it's not complementary to your business. So,
Right.
sounds like you've been able to turn those situations around when they've
Yes.
come up, which I'm sure is not a lot, but
Right.
when you're really trying to do things right, even 1 out of 100
Yes.
is heavy sometimes. So,
Sure.
yeah. So we talked a little bit about some of the different challenges of running a business. What else, as you think back to when you very first started and you had this, idyllic idea in your mind of what it was going to be a business owner? Like, what are some of the challenges that you've bumped up against that you didn't expect back then?
Time and money. When you become a business owner and you have these dreams, it is so hard to make those boundaries for family time and personal time and business time. Like in the beginning, you were all in. You put all your eggs in one basket. You were staying up late. You were doing all the things, and then you don't always show up for your family like you should. And I feel like that's very important. I know in the beginning, that's kind of how it needs to be a little bit. However, once you get to a point, I absolutely believe that there need to be healthy boundaries, because that is one of the biggest things that I personally ran into
Yeah.
for that. And then, of course, there's always money. You know what I mean? Like, things are expensive. Equipment is expensive. For example, my husband had bought me a camera and the shutter quit working. And now I always have two cameras. And so the other camera was fine, but then I had a wedding, and that stressed me out so bad to just have the one camera at that one wedding, just because the shutter wasn't going to be fixed on time. Just like different things like that. So you have to like sink in the money. Okay, well, we're going to have to get another camera. You know what I mean? Like there's no way around it to make sure that I am providing the service that I have promised and everything. So there's just like little things that pop up money wise that you don't always take into account. But I feel like that's pretty typical or normal, I guess, especially in the beginning parts of business. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Those are, again, some really good points that I think resonate with a lot of business owners of all types. I mean, it's interesting, just how often challenges are similar between, different business sectors. I think we all struggle with a lot of the same things, and, healthy boundaries
Yes.
is a big one. We've had other guests that have mentioned that, through our time, just that it is very easy. You can work an infinite amount of hours.
Yes.
There's always something else that could be done.
Yes.
How do you draw that line? And not saying that you're perfect at it, but how do you draw that line to say, okay, I'm going to commit to these non-negotiables, whether it's with family or other commitments or whatever?
So I would say the past 2 years, I have gotten much better. I'll be very honest. I struggled with it so bad that I actually went to counseling to try to manage myself, because I felt like I was failing my children, and that is my most important thing. Yes, I love my business. So I started going to counseling for it, and that has really helped. And so now I have quote unquote set hours. Now, I will answer emails kind of anytime. Like if I'm up in the middle of the night, I can go ahead and answer those. That's not a problem. But like editing wise, I used to stay up till 2, 3 in the morning editing, get up at 7 with my kids, like all the things. I do not do that anymore because I'm not as great as a mom in the mornings when I do that.
Sure.
And it actually has helped my business. My pictures look more consistent, things like that. So it has just been a very good experience for me to go ahead and put forth the effort to go into counseling. I know that's not for everybody, but for me, it helped so that I felt validated in making the boundaries that would help me be successful, not only in my business, but also in my home life and with my children.
Yeah. Good on you. And I appreciate your vulnerability and sharing that. I think that, again, there's a lot of people out there that hopefully are empowered by that and encouraged by that, that they're not the only ones. And, maybe it takes a little more formal or serious step to get things kind of righted, because it's so easy to allow things to get off balance.
It really is. Yeah.
And how do you how do you think about the concept of work-life balance? Do you think that stays in balance, all the time? Does it vary seasonally? How do you manage that as a person and as a family?
It's definitely seasonally.
Yeah.
For sure. So like I have a busier season, is typically like fall season, and my kids, my family knows if it is not scheduled like a couple months in advance on the calendar that my weekends will book up, my whatever. I typically know like when they have, musicals or soccer games or whatever it is that they have. And I make sure I put it in there. But like I might work till 8 or 9 o'clock at night because of how the sun is and stuff.
Right.
And that is okay. It's just more, you just have ups and downs where it works better on some times than it does others. But it's just also making sure that you realize when, okay, I'm getting back into old habits and just redirecting in that. But I will say that it is seasonal for sure, because busy season is busy season, and you have to, absolutely, hone in on that. But also my family gives me grace in that, and they understand.
Yeah.
And I've been in business long enough now that they're like, oh, it's mom's busy season.
Right.
We're making cereal for dinner. You know what I mean? So it works out.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I mean, you got to make hay while the sun's shining,
Correct.
as my farmer grandparents said, and
Yes.
so that's the way it goes. And
Yes.
if you've set that with your family, and then also, I know that some people will kind of have a finish line, and maybe there's a
Yes.
celebration, or a trip, or a
Yes.
weekend getaway or something, to kind of say, hey, we're regrouping. And
Yes.
have you done that sort of thing before?
Yeah. So we tried to take some sort of vacation or getaway on Christmas break of some sort. One year we went to Disney. That had been a very successful year. So that was awesome.
Love that.
One of our traditions are we go to Great Wolf Lodge for New Year's Eve. They have like a balloon drop. It's just this huge thing for the kids. We've done it ever since our daughter was a year old. And we've continued that, throughout our years. And that's just important things that we look forward to and the kids look forward to. And we always know that, like, hey, mom is done with busy season. Now it's time to have all the fun and things like that. So we always do that. And in the summer, we always try to take some kind of a trip or vacation, whether it just be to a friend's house out of state or whatever, just to make sure the kids, get those memories and those experiences.
Yeah. I really love that. I mean, on a lot of levels, I mean, we do similar things just to kind of celebrate some of those seasons and get away a little bit. And, frankly, I think that, again, maybe somebody out there listening needs to hear that, when you work really, really hard, like, there should be some rewards for that labor. And if it can be, right directly after, it gives everybody something to look forward to during those busy seasons, even better.
Yes.
So I love the way that you've structured that. Hopefully, again,
Thank you.
that gives somebody a new idea of a way to kind of maybe better manage those busy times. So
I agree. Yes.
So what if some of the, we talked, a lot about the challenges, and, appreciate all your sharing there. I mean, what about some of the unexpected good things about having your own business, and what have those been through the years?
So one of the biggest things is I actually submitted a few images to like a contest or a competition. And I didn't tell anybody, not even my husband, okay? Because I was so nervous. And the day came when they released it, and I actually got a bronze in this. And I was like, what? I can't believe that they actually, accepted this and everything. And then moving forward from that, I have submitted multiple ones. I've been published in a few magazines.
Awesome.
And 3 years in a row, I have got Best Photographer in Marion, Ohio, which it makes my heart so happy. There are absolutely other photographers who are just as amazing, but it just makes my heart happy that I have touched others and lives that they have felt it important enough to vote for me in that aspect.
Yeah.
So those are definitely some of the highs. I don't know, I guess I didn't think I would get to that level, and then getting to that level is just like another moment that's just so good. It's just such a good feeling.
Yeah. What are some of the ways that you've improved your skills? I mean, obviously practice and repetition can help, but not if you're doing the wrong things. So, again, maybe somebody comes across this episode and they're, have a dream of doing this or want to up their game. I mean, what kind of advice would you give to somebody like that?
So I always try to do some kind of a class every year or a retreat of some sort. It was last year or the year before, I can't remember, I'm sorry. But I went to, it was my favorite photographer. Her name is Amy McDonald. I went to her newborn retreat, and I learned so much. She taught how to edit her style, how her transitions go during newborn photography. That was mind blowing because I was not doing it her way.
Okay.
And hers are just more seamless. And then I always do like an editing class every year. I always just try every year to do some form of, learning technique that will help me improve because with photography, things change all the time.
Yes.
Whether it be equipment or editing styles or even posing and things, it all changes. So you definitely have to continue to grow in those different avenues. And so every year, some form of class or mentorship or of some sort is taken.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really, really great advice. What about kind of the business side of things?
Sure.
How have you learned and evolved in that manner?
That one's rough. Business is just, that's a hard one for me because I am a very wing it kind of person, and you can't be like that when you own a business. It has to be very, you have to be a little more organized than I typically am in things. And so that has definitely been a little bit of a challenge, but it does get better the more you do it, the more you start scheduling different things and, the old tax time, you know what I mean? Like all those
Right.
things,
Yes.
it's a lot different than what you see in movies or in shows and things like that. You don't have somebody holding your hand through that. You wear all the hats. You do all the things. So the business side, it can be a little scary, but don't be scared because if I can learn to do it, anybody can learn to do it because I am not an organized human being, but we make it through. So
Yeah. You've obviously figured it out.
Yes.
As
Yes.
you go, you just kind of take one step and then another.
do.
And, if you miss a tax or something like that, they have this way of finding you and sending you a letter and letting you know
Absolutely.
that you owe it. So
Yes.
you'll figure it out.
You will figure it out. You'll be like, all right, well, here we go.
Yeah. Well,
So-
that's really cool. So, as you're starting to look ahead, I mean, again, we talked a little bit at the beginning, just how you've immersed yourself in the community, born and raised here. And, a lot of, I would say the majority of your business is here and, people coming to you here and your prior studio location was kind of right on the outskirts of the downtown.
Yeah.
And, now you're right in the thick of the downtown.
Yes.
What do you see from your perspective, as you look around Marion, and what are you excited for that's coming down the pike?
Everything. I love Downtown Marion. I am just happy in general being part of downtown. That was like kind of, again, one of the dreams. And so every time customers come into my space, they're like, oh, the view is beautiful.
Yes.
So I really thought about maybe this winter, because when it's snowing and the lights are out, it is beautiful, so
Yes.
gorgeous. So I thought about doing some kind of like a drawing or something for like, especially during the light parade that they have.
Oh, yes.
And
Yeah.
allowing like maybe doing a drawing for some people to be able to come up there and watch it from up there, because
Oh,
that's
yeah.
how we did it. And we
So much
stayed
warmer.
warm. Yes.
It was like 5 degrees this year,
Yes.
last year.
So much warmer.
Yeah.
And I feel like kids would love that, and maybe have like hot cocoa or something, just to make it like an even better experience for, my clients, or especially the young kids and things like that. It's just very neat to be able to look out there and see like how busy downtown really is. Because I feel like if you don't look out and see, you're just like, oh, it's downtown. But no, like the hustle and bustle is there every single day. And it's very exciting to be a part of that.
Yeah. Folks don't know. So Sarah is on the 4th floor. And so she literally has a bird's eye view from 60 feet above the street level, and can see out and around, a couple of blocks. You can see the roofs of a lot of the buildings, and
Beautiful.
I'm sure it is a fantastic view for the lighted truck parade. I would have never thought about that. But
Yes. And you can still hear like some of the music and stuff. It's amazing. And we stayed warm. And when the snow is going, it's just with the street lights, it's very magical.
Yeah. Yeah. Really, really cool.
Yes.
I love that. I don't know why I didn't think about that. I was out there on the street level freezing.
Yeah. Come on up.
Yeah.
Stay
Apparently.
warm.
Okay. I love that. I love to ask people about and you've shared a little bit about this, like some kind of educational resources. Is there places also that you draw inspiration as you're thinking about, as you've outlined some of these steps that you've taken? I know that there was some courage needed for some of that. You know,
Yes.
where did you get that inspiration to keep going and to take the next iteration and the next leap forward and all of that?
So, I love God. I love Jesus. That has been the biggest thing, honestly. I pray all the time. Like, even in my car, I'm like, thank you so much for for all the good you've done for me. That is the number one thing. The second thing is I love to read. You probably will always see me with a book in my car or something, and all the Rachel Hollis books, they really resonated to me. Just her matter of fact on things, because I'm a gray person a little bit, you know what I mean? And I'm like, oh, can I really say those things, or can I really think? And so she kind of changed my attitude. And then there was a book I read, and it's called "You Are a Badass," but that book changed my mindset on so many things. Like, I could not recommend that book enough, even though there is a lot of cussing and stuff in it, but it makes it, I guess, like enjoyable for the most population to read. And it really did change my mind, because she just said things that you might think it, but like knowing that other people think it, it makes you feel validated. It makes you feel like, okay, I'm not the only person who is questioning this, or I'm not the only person who believes this specific way. And that was a very good book to read.
Yeah. I mean, once again, I think that's a fantastic point, and I think you've highlighted a few different things through the course of our conversation here that's just hopefully very validating to people out there that there's a lot of emotions and kind of mental barriers that have to be overcome to do business day in and day out.
Yes.
And if you're not finding sources to feed yourself like that, spiritually, mentally, physically, taking care of yourself, you gave some great tips for all of those, then you're maybe not going to make it, or not be fulfilled in doing this, if you can't get that.
Yeah, I feel like there has to be some form of outlet, and there has to be some kind of like just like, I don't know the word I'm looking for, but yes, I agree with you that there has to be some form of outlet also on all of it.
Yeah. You've talked a lot about your family.
Yes.
And the support there. That's a topic, honestly, that's come up in almost every episode that I've ever done.
Yeah.
It seems, that you literally could not do this without the support and just the way that you're all working together.
Yes.
Again, tell us a little more about how you've kind of figured that out, and what are some best practices you would advise others that you've kind of learned that you haven't already shared.
So I love to bounce ideas off of people, especially my family. I'm like, hey, what do you think about this kind of photo shoot? Hey, what do you feel about this? And I am very fortunate. My husband can do all the things. So I'm like, I want a greenhouse. He was like, let me make you a greenhouse.
Right.
So he literally built me a greenhouse for pictures. And then like with the new space, I was like, I want different flooring. So he's like, cool, I got that for you. So I'm very fortunate in that aspect. And then like even friends, I'll be like, hey, what do you think about this? Do you think, like, if you were coming to me for pictures, how do you feel like this sounds? Or would you like that kind of setup? And I just always bouncing ideas off, even my kids, because, even though they're a little bit older now, you still want them to have fun when they come into a specific setting. I never want a kid to come in and be like, this is awful, So I'm like, hey, would you guys, like, we just did pictures with our goats, and kids loved that.
Yes.
Okay, they ate that up, and And my kids were like, yeah, kids would love it. We love it. But I'm even bouncing off ideas of them because just because I think it's cool doesn't mean it's cool to them, And I always have suckers to, give to the kids
the
when
dads.
for the dads.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. They get the bundle of suckers. So, I just try to make it a good experience. But yes, bouncing ideas off of people is the best thing that I possibly think I could do. And then, of course, my husband making so many of my props and my backdrops and things like that. We've definitely, I felt like, built a good team with that.
Yeah. That was obvious when I remember walking through your now space the first time and just seeing the wheels turning and, you're throwing out ideas and he's just like,
yes.
okay.
That's
we could do that. We've got. Yep.
He's never told
It
me
sounds
no.
like you've got a long track record of
Yes.
already having put these projects together. So there was no surprises there.
Yeah.
But and it sounds like it's something you've been thinking and dreaming about for quite some time.
Oh
So
yeah, I have journals of like different setups and stuff. And I'm like, when I have my perfect space, this is what I want, and he is absolutely helping me make that happen.
Yeah. It's been quite a transformation. It's very, very cool to see it. Yes. And I love the involvement of your kids too. How old are they?
So my daughter's going to be 13 next week, and then my son is 9.
Okay. Yeah. So, our kids also have been kind of raised in the business and, adjacent to it. And again, I think just the lessons they're learning through all of that as well, just being close to probably things that you don't even know that they're noticing.
Yes.
Kids are so perceptive and, but just the things that they're learning about business and communication and taking care of customers and just working through issues and, seeing a dream come to reality. It just all of those things, I think, really special.
It is.
And I'm sure it'll be memorable for them.
Yeah. Both of my kids currently, like my daughter wants to be a music teacher, but not necessarily in like a school setting. Like she kind of wants to do her own thing to be a music teacher, like on the outside.
Okay.
And like, that makes my heart so happy that she has her own business owner practices, and she has a journal, like just like me, that she has goals, and it's just a good feeling to see that you can make a difference in your kids' life for their career path and stuff too. That don't be scared to take that leap.
That's right. That's right. Well, I think that's a great word to end on. Thank you so much. This has been really fun hearing your story and just the lessons learned. Again, I think they're really resonate with a lot of people, and hopefully are going to help a lot of folks that are maybe going through some self-doubt or some challenges with boundaries or needing a little shot of inspiration. Hopefully, I believe that they will get it from this episode. So before we kind of close out, will you share how folks can learn more about you and your business and follow along?
Sure. So I am on Facebook under Hogan's Photography. You can always message me, and you can always text me. If you call me, I probably will not call you back. I'm so sorry. That's just who I am as a human. My website is under construction. That should be up here within the next couple weeks. And then you can communicate with me through that. And that's just sarahhogansphotography.com. And I've actually had people just show up at the studio just to say hi and introduce themselves, which is the sweetest. I love that. And that's always a possibility as well, unless I'm in the middle of a photo shoot. And then, yes. But so that's just kind of how you can, follow me along or
That's great.
catch up with me. Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much once again, Sarah, for sharing your story and sharing with our audience. I really appreciate it. Yep. To our audience, thanks so much for tuning in again. Hopefully you did get a lot of inspiration, education through this interview and conversation. So I asked simply that if you did, that you'll share it with somebody else who might get some benefit out of it as well, and that you tune in next time on the Main Street Reimagined podcast. Thanks for listening to the Main Street Reimagined podcast. To learn more about Main Street Reimagined, Henry Development Group, or our work in downtown Marion, Ohio, please visit mainstreetreimagined.com. If you want to connect, or if you know someone who we need to interview, shoot us an email at info@mainstreetreimagined.com. Until next time, keep dreaming and don't be afraid to take the leap.